Hello, everybody. We are here for another live Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge. A little bit of a rough start there, but hey, there we go. Thanks to one of my wonderful co-pilots, I was able to pick that up right away. But thanks for tuning in. So, if you are new to watching this, this can sometimes be a live stream. This can sometimes be a podcast. A little backstory on the title. It's called Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge. The reason why, there's kind of two sources. First is from the late great Carrie Fisher's one. I believe it's her first autobiography book called Postcards from the Edge, and then of course we have the new theme park coming up called Galaxy's Edge. So just kind of fit hand in hand and put it together. But today, as you can see, we are broadcasting from wonderful Kashyyyk. I thought it was a bit appropriate because of our dear passing of our dear friend Peter Mayhew. Sorry, I had to think for a second, and things like that. And so it was just kind of appropriate to kind of have this next one from Kashyyyk and everything. So yes, I finally also got the comments working. That was just a layer mix up. So it's always funny. It's one of those when all it takes is just one little thing. It's like Photoshop actually, to where if you miss something, it sometimes it all just goes belly up. So, what we kind of have happen, the layout of the show is we also have as you can see, we broadcast from a different planet every time, and we have basically we get some canon facts. But what I'm excited to say is I actually have a navigator. I'm starting to put a crew together. Sometimes I have a co pilot. When I don't have a co pilot, that's when I usually go with more of a live stream because for whatever reason I can't talk like this just staring at a microphone. So I guess because I'm live, I can't go and ahs too much. I have to think on the fly. So flying solo, but I want to introduce to you my navigator, Gerry, aka Canon Junkie. We actually met on at Star Wars Celebration, and he has done a little ditty for us that he is going to tell us about wonderful Kashyyyk. So fingers crossed. Let's take it away, Gerry.
Thanks, Shannon. I've got the nav computer all set up, so let's make the jump to beautiful Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk is a temperate jungle planet orbiting a single star located in the Mytyrannor sector of the Mid-Rim. It has 3 moons, is covered in Rorschach trees, and is home to the mighty Wookiees. Now, Wookiees might seem primitive on first glance, but they are actually quite technologically advanced. They are excellent ship builders and quite good at weapon making as well. They also build fantastic, beautiful cities inside their great Rorschach trees. In the years following the invasion of Naboo, the rogue Jedi Count Dooku fomented political turmoil on the planet. Due to its status as a major navigational point, Kashyyyk was of prime strategic importance to the Galactic Republic, which led the Confederacy of Independent Systems to attack the planet toward the end of the Clone Wars. With the help of Yoda and the Grand Master of the Jedi Order and Jedi Master Luminara Unduli, the Grand Army of the Republic managed to get the upper hand on the Separatists. However, shortly after that victory, the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, Sheev Palpatine, unilaterally transformed the government into the First Galactic Empire. Despite Kashyyyk's loyalty to the Republic, the self-appointed Emperor had the Wookiees enslaved, and their planet itself was blockaded. Used as slave labor, the Empire utilized the Wookiees to cut down the planet's native Rorschach trees for lumber, to farm food, to feed the Imperial Army, as well as sent them off to labor camps and construction jobs such as building the first Death Star, or for science and bioweapon experiments. In addition to being occupied and enslaved, Kashyyyk was also stripped of its name and designated Imperial Territory G5-623 by 18 BBY. In the months following the Battle of Endor and the death of the Galactic Empire's totalitarian ruler, the New Order will be thrown into a fractured and volatile state, putting Kashyyyk on lockdown as supplies and convoys fell victim to the newly formed New Republic. With the Republic unwilling to divert resources towards the planet, Han Solo and Chewbacca would undertake a mission on the world with various other Wookiee refugees turned mercenaries. Following the liberation of Kashyyyk, Wookiee and New Republic forces conducted mopping up operations against the Imperial holdouts. During one of these operations, Chewbacca himself reunited with his son, Lumpa Waru, who had escaped from an Imperial slave labor camp. Kashyyyk has had a varied and very tragic history, but is once again a lovely, safe place to visit in the galaxy, and it has also had over 50 canon appearances. Shannon, back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Jerry. So, yes, that is the wonderful Canon Junkie, or it's at Junkie Canon, but you can find him and he's going to be our navigator moving forward. So, thanks again for that, Jerry. And yeah, so hopefully you guys learned a little bit about Kashyyyk and where we are broadcasting from. But it's funny, actually, as I was building the graphics and things for tonight's show, I had Solo playing in the background, which there's a massive campaign I want to give a shout out to. That's Make Solo 2 Happen. It's a hashtag on May 23rd. It's going to be a massive kind of, if you really were a big fan of the film and you'd like to see a second one made, I'm hoping it wasn't my favorite, but I don't think it deserved as much flack as it got. There were definitely some choices that were a bit in my opinion, like having Solo get his name from an Imperial officer. I don't know how I feel about that. And there's a few almost too fan servicey. However, it still is well deserved. So my hope is maybe they will consider making a Solo 2 on the new streaming service, the Disney Plus streaming service. So fingers crossed, maybe we'll get that. But yes, use the hashtag make Solo 2 happen. I think it's I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll post it later or in the chat and things like that. But yeah, make Solo 2 happen. Hashtag even Yotis Sotomo, the person who is now playing Chewbacca, he's been using the hashtag in his Instagram and things like that. So it's picking up momentum. And heck, if the Clone Wars can get saved, who knows? But so yeah, and also hit up the Resistance broadcast guys. They're the ones who are really kind of spearheading it and everything. But with that said, we do have to have a moment for Peter Mayhew, who has sadly left us. And I know I'm a bit behind on it because it happened last week, or now technically 2 weeks, because he passed on actually the 30th of April, but we didn't hear until a couple days later. My little poor guy. How's fallen over? See if he'll sit up. He's probably like, it's so late. It's 1 a.m. Why are you doing this? Okay, that might not work. Anyway, we'll just do this. Yes, but I never met Peter Mayhew at any conventions or anything. It's funny, before guy who played R2D2. Oh my god, I can't believe I just pulled a blank on his name. Last name Baker. I think it's Tony Baker. He actually rode past me on a mobility scooter, and at that same convention, I actually had a security guard gently push me out of the way because Stan Lee was walking right past me to get to something. So I have this very bad habit of being in the way of celebrities and things. So yeah, it's kind of awkward. But anyway, I wish I had a run in with Peter Mayhew like that at the conventions, but he sounded like he was an absolute gentleman, and I love when he tells the story of how he got the job, and being from England and a gentleman standing up, and all George Lucas had to do was kind of go, "Yep, we think we found him," but yeah, just it's a shame, but I think it's getting to that point, and it makes those lines like in the trailers, like no one's ever really gone, almost that much more poignant. Like I actually, it's funny, and some people might give me a little flack for this. I actually remember I cried at the first viewing of The Last Jedi during the scene between Luke and Leia, because when that came out, Carrie Fisher had already passed for a year. And so just the hearing that no one's ever really gone, I mean, it caught me at a moment that I actually was finding myself tearing up in the cinema. So I think, even though that the baton had been passed over to Jonas, It's still sad and everything. And the thing was, he was just with us. He was at Celebration. I know he had to cancel. I'm not sure what days he had to cancel because I remember some people kind of grumbling about it, which I can understand being disappointed, but also come on, it's and then like that he was gone 2 weeks later. It just was very surreal. It was kind of like you were just here. um but it was, it just makes you kind of focus on life a little bit and just realize just how quick and precious it really is, and not to take it for granted. I think all of us in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, uh, just kind of, we forget that sometimes. But on that note, I will not. I'm not gonna have this be like a self help or a meditations with Shannon kind of podcast or live stream. But it's just something to still think about, that when moments like this happen, it makes me kind of appreciate. When I'm cycling in the hustle and bustle in London, it's like, okay, appreciate. I'm where you are. So definitely, I wish him well and his family and things like that. But let's talk about some of our favorite Chewbacca moments. So I'll ask Alan in chat, and then we'll kind of see if anyone else wants to jump in the chat and everything. But if we have any favorite Chewbacca moments, I asked one of my good guy friends at work, and of course, the one that's probably very classic is the banter that between that's in The Empire Strikes Back, and you hear that little Chewie laugh. There, I can't even do it. There's gonna be some Chewbacca impressions tonight that are just not gonna be very good. But you have him, and just Han Solo kind of turning to him and going, "Laugh it up, fuzzball." It just, you could tell they're like brothers. Like it's a great moment. It's a really great moment, and yeah. Yeah, no, Alan, I have some friends in America that maybe they'll be watching, but yeah, we'll see. See if I can wake anybody up. I'm trying to make sure I'm not trying to wake up my neighbor because I'm in the living room. Which again, apologies for the overhead light. The lamp that I usually have next to me for game streams and things, we had to replace the bulb, and it's not bright enough. So yeah, it looked a bit. So yay, production values. Woo. Um, what's another fun Chewy moment? I actually, but it's tricky because it's not Peter Mayhew. But I think another one that, shh, don't listen, is when Chewbacca is trying to eat the porg. He's roasted this porg and things like that, and there's like this family of them just looking at him, and he's just about to bite, and he just those that moment where he just looks back and forth. That was definitely Peter speaking Leonis and talking about those head tilts and everything. It's all in a subtle body movements and whatnot. So and of course the other one, like, you know moaning. But yeah, it's funny. If I can't, you probably can't tell, but there's always Arabesh in all my graphics, and that Arabesh actually spells things out. So if anyone's really super clever and wants to decode them, I always have secret messages in all my graphics, and they're always different. So when I'm streaming Battlefront, or when I'm doing different, live streams with like postcards, or with retro game night, there's always Arabesh, and it actually says something. So I won't say what this one says, but the one last episode where we were on Act 2, it said porgs are not food. So yes, there's always something in there. So it's a little clever little Easter egg as well, that I just go that much more nerdy with my graphics and things. And let's hope that the font makes it an actual translation, because I found out, because I have Arabesh actually on my folding bike and my helmet, and I wanted, in The Force Awakens, Rey puts on a fighter, a X-wing pilot helmet. Well, it actually says Rey on the side, but not Ray as an R-E dub. I can spell Rey. It's R, and it's an A and an E looking logo to get a letter, and it's and sorry, I was reading something in chat. Trying, I don't know if I quite understand what Alan's saying. um, that oh, and anyway, so I went to this place and I even made sure I copied the certain letter, and they didn't get it quite right. So hopefully, anyway, the Arabash is a proper translation and things like that. But kind of moving on. Speaking of, like, we kind of touched on the make Solo 2 happen and things like that. We in news have been told the next three Star Wars films release dates, and it's 2022, 2024, and 2026, which I did the math, and 2026 I will be 42 years old. Whew. Yeah. It's just kind of like, oh, I see what you're saying, Alan. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. I'll tell you what, I will tell you at the end what it says. um, but yeah, so it's funny. I actually did a poll on Twitter. There was four options, and it was, what do you think these next three films are? And the options were Game of Thrones dudes, because I can't spell Benny Weiss. You know, the Game of Thrones dudes. Or is it B, Ryan Johnson, C, something else, or D, don't care, I'll be dead? Because a lot of us have been on Twitter, because a lot of us are in our late 20s, early 30s. I'm more mid 30s now, but kind of tweeting at things, and we're all doing the math going, wait a minute, I'm going to be this old. So I thought that was funny to put it in there. But basically, I had, what was it? I don't have the numbers in front of me. Let's see, make sure my math checks out here. So I had 55% say that it was pretty close. I had 55% say Benny Weiss, and I think 45, I might have a 5% mess up there, say Ryan Johnson. And I find it interesting that a lot of people are thinking, oh, yep, Ryan Johnson's trilogy's canceled, blah, blah, blah. Nothing substantial is out there saying that. Just because we have three dates, that doesn't mean anything. Let me tell you carefully, dates change. I know in my day job, we have worked on films that all of a sudden the date has changed or pushed forward, or it wasn't announced and all of a sudden they pushed it forward. It's kind of a semi-permanent thing. But yeah, I do think the general consensus, which I'm curious to see how this is going to work, is I don't know how I feel about my Christmas, because I'm a Christmas baby. Yeah, oh, yay, Canon Junkie. Hi, welcome to chats. I'm so happy. I hope you got to see your little video tidbits. If you've missed it, I'll post this afterwards so you can watch it. It worked out great. So awesome. Yes, I do think they are possibly working together, because there's a rumor going around that I don't know how this is going to quite work, but there's a rumor that it's like the Benny Weiss is hopefully going to be the Old Republic, and then the Ryan Johnson is going to be like after, obviously, episode 9 and 10, but like significantly after, because otherwise you're going to kind of get into the territory of, I don't know. But yeah, somehow they're going to reference each other. Maybe that's wishful thinking, because I know a lot of fans, including myself a little bit, wanted to have kind of an MCU through line. Not as intertangled, but yeah. Oh, okay. No, I understand putting the little one to bed. Yeah. Lord knows what time it is there, at least in America, but like here it's like 1 a.m. But yeah, the graphics took a bit of time. So going back to the new films coming out, yeah, I'm very curious, because yes, that's the rumor I've heard as well, Gerry, is that they're working together. Now, is that just working together to kind of establish this new universe, or because the films are that intertwined? Again, that could be very hearsay or whatever. But actually, Gerry, just throwing it over to you, just kind of stepping back 3 steps. Let me know your favorite Chewbacca moment. and things like that. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't. And of course, we're now going to have, because I'm a Christmas baby, I'm 3 days before Christmas. So I love that since like 2016, no, 2015, Star Wars and Christmas. I think this is why I became a super fan about 2015. I've always been a fan. I remember seeing the original trilogy released in the cinemas. There's the special edition, and 1997, because I was that generation they talked about in the commercial. You saw like this TV screen and it said for a whole generation has experienced Star Wars like this, and then the X-Wing comes out and it goes to the big screen and it's talking about the special edition and things like that. And I was that generation and things like that. So I mean, I have been a Star Wars fan from 6 years old probably, but I really got into super fandom 2015. And I guess also because I was so close to everything and had friends working on the visual effects. And yeah, for me, The Force Awakens had that energy that I felt the prequels were kind of missing. But that's just my opinion. Totally understand if other people don't feel that way, but that's just me. Um, where was I going with this? So, but it's weird that now we're kind of getting a Star Wars Avatar, Star Wars Avatar. I can't believe that we actually are getting four more avatars. Like, ugh. We talked about this in a different podcast I do, a visual effect one. Um, that Avatar did a lot for visual effect industry and movie making in general, like, and actually game development as well, because of what the motion capture. Because motion capture traditionally, just slight little off here, but oh, you'll see. I was gonna put this reunion in the little video segment, but the file I had was too pixelated. But I do like how Chewie pets Han. Yes, that is a very good moment. He's like, I'm all right. I'm all right. I don't think you know if he says bud. Pal. I think he says pal. I'm okay, pal. I'm okay. Like, I remember that vividly. I'm like, oh. So no, very good moment. Very good moment. Um, so with Avatar, it really did a lot with motion capture and things, because motion capture traditionally is like kind of in like a 10 foot by 10 foot space, but they had stuff on animals, they were running up and down the stage and things like that. So that, thank you. And the visual effects were not gimmicky. And when I, sorry, not the visual effects, I mean the stereoscopic, the 3D. So you didn't have the, oh, I'm coming right towards you. But as a story, it's Fern Gully in space and dances with wolves, and it's nothing new. And because of that, I don't understand how we're gonna have a universe outside of that or bigger than that. Like it had great creature design. I loved, I don't even know, the birds or the pterodactyl looking things. It had wonderful creature designs. Those were awesome because they had kind of like almost square like features, and I was into that. But again, I don't want to see four more films of it. And it's like, it came out in 2009, and now we're gonna get, it's just, I don't know. So I'm curious because obviously working in the visual effect industry, I know how much like work gets done, and then when it's not used, the artists and everyone gets really bummed out. So I don't wish ill, but at the same time, I will be surprised if all get made. I could be wrong. It could be amazing. Who knows? But I just, four? So a total of five? It's almost, yeah. I'm gonna stop going on a bit of a tangent. Back to Star Wars. So anyway, it's just one of those, I don't know how I feel about sharing my Christmas time with Avatar, but I'm hoping that it's we're gonna get some more stuff on like Disney Plus and things like that. Because it was funny, I, as kind of a content creator, I was like, oh crap, we're not getting films every year, so we don't, do we have stuff to talk about now to speculate? Because obviously a lot of our content that we create and podcast about or make videos about or make even clickbait about, it's all like a lot of speculation. Well, if you don't have that, so what do you talk about? But I do feel, and this is something we're going to cover in a second, they're going to cover more mixed media stuff. I've noticed that about kind of the, I guess if you want to call it the Disney era of, quote, Disney era of Star Wars. We're getting a lot of mixed media. So we're getting TV shows, we're getting YouTube channels. Like, let me tell you, I love the Star Wars Kid channel, like the little animated shorts. And actually, one of the best ones I saw is the Palpatine one and the Yoda one, because they add kind of additional scenes. And the Palpatine one is actually great because, like I said, he's not my favorite character, but I have appreciation for him. And this little animated cartoon is awesome. Like, I even enjoyed the Forces of Destiny. I hope they're coming back, but I don't know if that's now been kind of put on hold because we have Star Wars Kids and they don't want conflicting YouTube channels. But another thing is, I am enjoying the books. Like my last live stream, I kind of talked about the prophecies stuff said in the Claudia Gray Master and Apprentice, and I haven't quite finished the book, but I'm really enjoying it. So, what they've just recently announced is a whole slew of books called, Journey to the Rise of Skywalker or whatever. I always like this, like, and I guess here's kind of the debate out to you guys. Yes, Star Wars Kids is amazing. Yeah, I love it. And I bet I'm curious. I bet your little ones probably really love it. Like, I wish I had little ones to kind of share this love with, but I just share it with my better half. She has to deal with it. Um, Sorry. So I love that we kind of get these like massive books and things for, the journey to Force Awakens, the journey to The Last Jedi, the journey to The Rise of Skywalker. Now, I know the debate could be said, oh, but why do we need to have, books to fill in the backstory and things? I can see that point. I think the tricky thing is we're used to a lot of story building, because, like, for example, the last decade we have had Game of Thrones, and so we have had, I do have a connection, so bear with me, we have had so much time to really dive into these characters, and we're almost like, as like a culture now, and I feel, consuming stories and media and things, we almost expect that kind of world building. But you, and like the MCU is another one where the films were like that. But guys, both of them took 10 years to really get us to that. Now, it's tricky with Star Wars, and this is why I say you can't really compare it to the MCU, is it's a whole different beast, it's a whole different kind of business model, things like that. So you can't, the world is there, and but they have to just kind of build it in a different way. So I think building it with books and comics and things like that. Like, I really want to start reading the Poe Dameron comics because I was so happy that we had a few scenes that were right after The Last Jedi and things. And it's funny because I have to reread them, but it's almost like Poe's bragging and Ray is just kind of like, who the hell is this dude? But I digress. Um, but anyway, some of the books that kind of peeked out to me, I'm so excited. Bear with me. I'm going to pull up the actual titles. I know I tweeted it out the other day because there's a couple of them that I'm kind of like, okay, this is very interesting. Bear with me. Um, let's see here. Oh, come on. Here we go. So I first of all, I love the art books. I need to get them, but if I could do anything in the film industry still, but something different than being an editor, I would love to be in art department. Like, just, oh god, I wish I could draw like that. And because I always have all these things in my head that I wish I could draw. So the first one that really stood out to me was the Rise of Skywalker art. And the photo, the picture, it's interesting that it's like Ray and Kylo, but it's like I can't. They don't. It's like they're fighting, but not quite. And they definitely are on two different planes because and it's interesting. I just noticed this very moment. Obviously, we know in the Star Wars lore, red is Sith or dark side, blue is light. Looking at this background, Rey is in red and Kylo is in blue. So I don't know. In my head canon, I almost wanted them to do this number. I wanted him to go from the dark to the light and her to go from the light to the dark. And that's how we get Bendemption is it's almost like he's like I don't even this not this cheesy, so this is why I'm not a script writer, but something like he knows what the darkness is and he knows she's not that person, just like she knows he's not fully dark. I don't know, like they just kind of help each other out, but I'm really curious how they're going to do this in Rise of Skywalker. But anyway, that was the first book that really stood out to me that I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And someone else brought up on Twitter, which was a very good point, the art of The Force Awakens had Kylo on it. The Art of Last Jedi had Rey, and now we have both of them on the third one. So again, balance, echoes, it's just there. And yeah, it's even if you're not a Raylo person, I like the Raylo connection, as in they're connected, not necessarily romantic, but there's definitely a deeper connection there. And so I enjoy the balance. I've always been a yin and yang kind of person and fascinated with that kind of stuff. Um, this is the one that jumped out to me. This one's called Force Collector. Now, some people I've heard when they've been broadcasting about it. First of all, let's describe the cover. So the cover is a young guy, black hair, and kind of a mountainy looking planet, which looks very similar to kind of the Wadi Rum stuff we saw in the trailer. And he's got a backpack very similar to Luke. It almost looks like in the backpack is the training droid round thing that was in the Millennium Falcon, a stormtrooper helmet, a lightsaber in the side. He's carrying a sand person thing, you know, the actually that impression came out better than I was expecting. But what jumps out to me is the sleeves. Like, how do we always think of Kylo Ren, at least for me, and Rey, is their arm wraps. And he's clearly wearing black with black glove arm wraps, and it looks like Ben Solo. Now, I don't know where this timeline ends because some people just, I have to see what the exact synopsis is, but that one really just made me go, oh, okay, we're going there in a good way. So I'm very curious on, is this him? Is this not? It could be a massive, misdirect, but I do find it quite interesting. And then I think also kind of the hopeful 501st in me. I love that the visual dictionary, there's a new stormtrooper. He looks a lot like the snow trooper that was never really shown in the Force Awakens, because the really, I don't know how they see out of these helmets, but yeah, it's got like the kind of two nozzles in the front and things. So I bet, the 501st people are like, yes, another build, another CRL, here we go. I think they just got the Mud Trooper approved from Solo, which I think is actually one of my favorites. And I dig all the Rogue One ones, which is hilarious. Like, I actually dig the kind of anthology or Star Wars story film troopers, but I digress. So, so I guess it just kind of goes to there's a whole bunch more. Let me see if I can pull it up on StarWars.com, but publishing. Actually, they'll do this. So, journey to the God, what a mouthful! The Rise of Skywalker. I still am trying to work on that title. I just right. Okay, so the other, of course, the one I'm very excited about is the proper book after. So what's it called again? Let's see. Resistance Reborn. I knew it was a Resistance something. Because yeah, I'm very interested. I'm so invested now in these new characters, which is quite interesting. I actually was talking to my brother last night, and he's the complete opposite. He's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about these characters. I don't know enough about them. You know, he doesn't know enough about the First Order and things like that. And that's a very valid point, because I guess I'm invested because I read the other materials, or I watch the other materials, or I play the video game and things like that. Like, I think the more and more that's they're almost tying more and more into the single player thing of Battlefront. So I'm a massive Battlefront player, not as in like popularity, but like I really enjoy the game. I really encourage people to try it now, because it's no longer the play to win. It hasn't been play to win for over a year now, even though like there's like a thing going on in Congress in America right now that they're using it when they're talking about play to win and making legislation and anything, which I don't think is quite fair. But anyway, but within that game, Luke Skywalker is looking for artifacts. Palpatine is an Ascensional, so he had like a backup plan and things. So it's more and more tying in. Like, it's not longer just a, oh hey, it'd be cool to have the compass from Battlefront 2 and with Luke Skywalker stuff. It's almost, I don't know if it's purposely that tied in, but it's very interesting that more and more things are very tied in. So I'm very interested to see about this Resistance Reborn book, what they're going to cover. I'm really interested to see what they talk about with Leia, and things like that. Yeah, I'm very interested in those kind of things. So I'm excited, waiting for those books to come out. But the thing is, I'm not a very fast reader, and actually, I'm not a very good reader at all, being dyslexic. So Master and Apprentice, I've been listening to as an audiobook, and it's been amazing. Like, I don't know the gentleman who's the narrator's name, but he's perfect. And like the production value of these audiobooks, it's almost like listening to like a teleplay or something like that. You've got the sound effects, you've got the music. I mean, it does not sound like just somebody rambling at you, kind of like what I'm doing right now. But yeah, that's just so that's quite exciting. And then of course, I kind of in other news, Galaxy's Edge is really, it's on the cusp of opening up and things. I find it interesting that you need to have reservations at Disneyland but not Disney World. There's got to be a reason behind that. I don't know if it's going to be smaller, or Disney World doesn't get the as much tourism as Disneyland. So yeah, I don't know enough about it. I'm just curious on what that would be and everything. But that's just kind of pretty much what to chat about tonight and everything. So it was just wanted to do a little bit of a chat, wanted to introduce my navigator, Gerry, which I'm very excited came into chat. So it's always cool to have some chats and things. But this is what I do when I don't have a co-pilot. I fly solo, doing more of like a live stream, talk about some kind of current events in Star Wars and things, or any kind of speculations. But I want to say a big shout out to everybody kind of watching, if you're either watching it live or in the rebroadcast, things like that. But please consider, I have a Patreon page, and it's Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge. I'll put the links below after I'm finished with the live stream and things. I'd love to make more content. I'm hoping if I reach a certain tier, I want to do more some breakdown videos on kind of one about the music of like John Williams, and how I feel it's one of the reasons why Star Wars is so timeless, and why it's just, there's a lot, and like the use of motifs, like you it's almost like cues. We know now, this you could almost like not watch, you could just listen and you can hear, oh, this is when this character comes in, this is when that character comes in, and things like that. And that's a very inspiring kind of way of doing it. And then I'd love to do one kind of breaking down more the visual effect aspects and the use of special effects versus visual effects, because sometimes that term is used interchangeably and it actually is two different things. Bless like bless my parents, sometimes I have to be like, no, it's not special effects, it's visual effects. I work in two different things. So yes, please consider looking at the Patreon page, or just even consider just liking and subscribing to this video. I also do game streams where I stream Star Wars games. At the moment, I'm kind of doing a retro game night. So started last night, did Knights of the Old Republic, kind of with the excitement of the hopeful Benny Elfin Weiss. Can you imagine if they actually finally announce the Ben and Alphen Weiss and it's not Old Republic? Everyone's gonna be like, wait, what? But again, they've never said anything, so it's more on us getting excited that we're like, oh, it's that's of course that's what they're gonna do. No, there's no guarantee. But anyway, it's a very timeless Star Wars game, and actually, it has one of my favorite Jedi's before Rey was Bastila Shan, and she had a dual lightsaber, and it's she falls in love with a dark sider, and it's very similar kind of parallels with sort of again pinch of cinnamon here, you know, Kylo Ren and Rey. I mean, the helmets even look very similar between Revan and Kylo Ren, but yeah. So if you are very interested in that, I'm hoping to get more people in the chat, and I would love to get it to where like we kind of because it's an RPG game, so we all get in there and you help me decide like, do I take the bounty? Do I kill this person? Do I spare this person? If not, I'll just play myself and yeah, there you go. But it would be fun and engaging. It's like so that would be on Twitch. That's Shenanigan Plays, so Shenanigan underscore plays, and Shenanigan is spelled E-N at the end, not A-N. Again, all this stuff will be in the links down below. So got lots of stuff coming up. So again, thank you very much for checking this out. Thanks again to my wonderful navigator, Gerry. Thank you for also coming into the chat. And I will see you guys very soon and have a very good night.